Yo, what is up guys, I am Mahi and welcome to this lesson on executes, where we really try to take a deep dive to the theory behind executes so that we can understand them on a deeper level, and you no longer need to memorize each component of the execute and each timing of the execute. Instead, you can understand them on the fly. Basically, you can adapt to new executes, you can make them up, make new ones up on the fly based on what teammates you have, what enemies you have, what utility you might be having. And yeah, we'll go over both the ideal executes, which is basically what pros are trying to do, like what's the ideal way to execute, but then we'll also go over the realistic way to execute, because let's face it, majority of you are not pro players and you will need to be able to execute with like random teammates and whatever utility you might have left, and your teammates won't be cooperating properly. So what is the best execute we can get away with even in our pickup games? But this will be a multi-video series on everything I know about executes, and it's gonna widen your understanding of executes and help you a lot in the long run. So without further ado, let's get into the first video where we go over different roles and utility might have. Here on Overpass B side, we have two great examples of two different types of smoke grenades we can throw. The first one being these long distance smokes that completely block off an individual position the enemy might be playing. Here, it doesn't really limit me in any way at all. I have full space, I have full vision, I can do whatever I want on the site, but there's one less position to worry about for me. So let's say there's an AVP player in heaven. This completely removes him from the equation. He cannot do anything to help his teammates aside from some weird flashbangs or whatever. This is typically designed to cut off AVPs precisely, because a rifle might just come through the smoke and there's nothing I can do to stop it. And it also stops the enemy rotate. So if there's somebody playing A and he's coming to heaven to help his teammates, now he's blocked off and it might be too late to go through the smoke at this point anymore. Even if he's a rifler, obviously if he's an AVP, he's stuck here. So these are the long distance smokes. They cut off rotates, they cut off AVPs, they cut off individual positions without affecting me too much. Then we have these local smokes or close range smokes, such as the bridge smoke here on Overpass. This gives me cover from multiple angles at the same time. So throwing the smoke, I no longer need to worry about hell, I no longer need to worry about ABC, I no longer need to worry about anybody playing here close in the water, or even close here on the bridge unless he wants to come through the smoke. So it gives me a lot of cover, and it allows me to basically turn my back to the enemies here and only fight monster. It allows me to use the smoke to my advantage, maybe try to find something through the smoke. I can even go like actually through the smoke and try to find somebody playing here. So it just creates a lot of chaos and gives me a lot more space to work with if I feel like there are multiple angles I need to be aware of. And it's especially useful in these situations where I'm facing a crossfire. So again, I don't know exactly where the CT is here, and then I still need to worry about monster. And even if I were to throw like a long distance smoke here to cut off the whoever might be playing, let's say he's an ABC, he's just gonna come through the smoke anyways, and now they have the crossfire again. Another thing to realize here is that the further away the enemy is from the smoke, the easier it is for them to spam it. So if you throw this local smoke, the CTs have no trouble spamming the smoke, trying to hit you. So you don't want to be staying here for extended periods of time. You want to go and continue your entering as quickly as possible and move away from the smoke as quickly as possible. Whereas the CTs, they don't typically mind playing further back and spamming the smokes. Whereas if you throw these long range smokes, so you smoke of heaven maybe, now the CT, it's actually very hard. He has no context of what's going on B. He cannot see anything, and it's just one gray area here, and it's really hard to find unless he has some lineups. It's really hard to actually spam you here. So that's something to keep in mind. So if you throw any of these local smokes, you don't want to be hanging around here just chilling. You typically want to cross as quickly as possible and avoid any spam from the CTs. So those are the main two types. Close range smokes or local smokes, they are useful to cutting off multiple angles at the same time. They are useful to giving you space to move around, and they are useful to cut the crossfires up as well. Whereas the long range smokes, let's see if I can wing this. Good enough, whatever. These long range smokes, they cut off AVPs, they cut off rotates, they cut off individual positions so that you don't need to worry about them anymore for the rest of the execute basically. Now, it's also important to realize that these are not some hard limitations, they're just definitions I came up with to help you guys better understand the roles of different kinds of smokes. And for example, here on Overpass, if I'm a CT defending and somebody throws the local smoke here, I can still move around, I still have a space to try and fight them, I can still like get up close and personal with them. I can maybe try use the smoke to my own advantage. And like it just gives them a little bit of cover, but it doesn't really block me from doing anything too well. Whereas here on Inferno, if we throw the CT smoke on B side, it's clearly local smoke. It gives me cover, it's close to me, it allows me to ignore all of these angles at the same time. It allows me to ignore the crossfire possibility here, so I can just use it as a cover for me to only fight site, even turning my back to the smoke. But if we think about it from the opponent's perspective, it's a little bit of a hybrid, because sure, it blocks off all these angles, but it also blocks off the AVP playing here maybe, it blocks off any rotates coming here. And if you compare it to the overpass local smoke, which still gave the CT a lot of space, the CT could get up close and personal, he could try fighting you from different angles. Here, even if the CT has all the space in the world, he cannot really do anything with it. He can just run around in circles and maybe try spam the smoke. He can try to do some crazy play through the smoke, that's always an option, but like, it closes off all of CT. It's also similar to the Heaven smoke, which blocked off Heaven completely. This blocks off CT completely, all of it. So it's a bit of a hybrid, a super smoke, which does both at the same time, and it does them pretty well, honestly. And then we have even the coffin smoke here, which, if we think about it, at first, it's a long-range smoke. It blocks off the AVP, it blocks off the rotates. It's one less place you have to worry about. It's far away from you, you can just focus on other places. But once you cross the pool, and now you start pushing the site, suddenly it's like a close smoke too. It's a local smoke, so now you no longer need to worry about any of this stuff here. And you don't need to worry about the crossfire either, so you can just turn your back and only focus on this side of the site and like clear the backside here. So it kind of changes its role based on how far you are in the execute. And yeah, as we can see, there is no hard definition that this is a long range smoke and this is a local smoke. These are just definitions I came up with to help you guys learn and understand the possibilities for smokes, both as a terrorist but as a CT as well, so you'll be able to abuse the enemy smokes better now that you understand how the smokes work. And guys, if you like this kind of long-term improvement aimed content on executes, make sure to subscribe, because I will have more videos coming on executes, such as how to entry path as a T, how to defend against executes as a CT, and what kinds of executes there are, and when to do which kind of execute. Maybe even more, we'll see, but those are the ones I have in mind, so make sure to subscribe if you like this kind of content. Now back to the video. Next up we have flashbangs, and just like with smoke grenades, I like to divide these into two main categories, which are the entry flashes and the supportive or the late flashes. And there's a lot to go over, so let's start off with the entry flashes. They are typically a little bit more effective, but they are something your teammates need to dodge. They need to wait for them, avoid them, they need to know where they're gonna land approximately. So these are something you need to call out. And one example of such flashbang is this Inferno B-side God Flash here. It blinds basically everybody. It blinds off here and CT, and like even here it might blind somebody. But it also blinds your teammates, because it pops up here. So your teammates cannot be up here, they cannot be here holding CT. They need to watch out for the flash. They need to avoid it and dodge it, or even like if you guys are a coordinated team, maybe they can wait here, and when the flash pops they can start running immediately. If it's lower reload, they can just wait behind this corner. Don't try to guide them too much. If they like waiting here, whatever. You call the flashbang and now they go. Now, actually, it's often a good thing in lower ranks, or even in higher ranks, why not, that they have to wait for it, because this allows you to IGL without being the commanding guy, without being like, hey guys, you do this, and you do this, and you do this. People don't like being commanded, and also it's going to be hard for everybody to realize what you mean if you start trying to IGL too much in like pickup games. Whereas if you throw them a flashbang, you're going to be like, hey guys, wait, I flash for you. And nobody minds this. Nobody's gonna be like, no, don't flash for me, dude. Majority of the people will wait for your flashbang. And what you're actually doing, you're grouping them up. You're giving them a go signal. They will all wait here patiently. And when your flash pops, everybody will enter the site as a team at the same time. So that's the beauty of entry flashes, of these flashes that blind your teammates. You just need to call out that you will throw a flashbang. Wait, guys. You're not really commanding them or trying to be an IGL. Yet you are being one. Now, another thing about entry flashes is that they typically pop like in front of the entrance, obviously, because this is an annoying choke point. This is hard to get away from. When the T's try to push here, there are so many angles to watch out for, and like there are more crossfires than not. And that's why you need to throw the flashbang, so that it blinds everybody holding this entrance. It doesn't need to blind anybody here, it doesn't need to blind anybody like playing here, or I don't know, even like nobody here has to get blinded. Just make sure your teammates get out from the entrance, from the choke point itself, and now your teammates can split up on the side. Some can go here and like even hide behind the coffin here, or some can start pushing close by, maybe, whatever. It gives more space for your teammate, all right? And the last thing I want to mention is, do not throw two of these ever. Like, I don't care if you call it out, your teammates won't be able to dodge it. So don't do this. Don't call them flashbang and then another flashbang, guys. Watch out, there's another flash coming. Nobody will be able to dodge it. People will not realize where it's gonna pop. People will not realize what's happening. They will turn around and still get blinded by it. Some will not turn around. Some CTs might not get blinded if it goes too far accidentally. Now it pops behind the CT and it's just a chaos. So that's why we have the second category, which is supportive flashes. These are typically a little bit less effective flashes that your teammates don't need to know about. They don't, like, even if they know about it, they don't need to react, they don't need to dodge it, they don't need to wait for it. But often in solo queue, they don't even need to know about it. So here, for example, you might throw the God flash, and then you might throw like a deep CT flash. Or you might throw a flashbang on top of this roof up here. And this will pop behind your teammates. If your teammates are fighting site right now, they will not even know about these flashes necessarily. And if you guys are in lower elo or not speaking in your native language, like all of you in the same language, then if you try calling this out, your teammate might understand it incorrectly, and now he might try and dodge it, and suddenly it pops behind him, and now he actually gets blinded by it. So yeah, in lower ranks with people not everybody speaking English properly, it might be better not to call this out actually. Sure, if you guys have a good team, you have a group of 5 people, you can call out the deep CT flash. Your teammates will know what it means. They will know not to act on it too much, whatever, and they will just keep fighting the side, alright? So that's the point of supportive flashes. A little bit less effective. They come late. They come as your team is already fighting, so there might be shooting going on already. And they blind the opponents a little bit at least, but they don't blind your teammates. That's the point here, alright? So I think that's everything about supportive flashes. Never throw to entry flashes. Always move on to supportive flashes. And whether you want to call them out or not depends on who you're playing with and how good you think they are, alright? Now guys, the last thing I want to mention about these flashbangs is combining them with smoke grenades and controlling your teammates even further without verbally commanding them, basically. Without verbally guiding them, you are intuitively making them guide themselves, basically. So let's say you want to throw these exact flashes I just shown you. One pops up here and the other one pops behind your teammates so that your teammates can fight side. Now, how do you ensure that your teammates won't be fighting CT instead? Now they're going to be blind. Or how do you ensure your teammates won't be climbing up here and peeking into the roof where your flashbang will pop? Whatever, you get the idea. By using smoke grenades with your help, you find a lineup. I don't actually know if this is an ideal lineup. Whatever, you find some lineup that's good enough, and then you call out the flashbang, and then you don't even call out the second flashbang. All right, so in reality it might look like this: smoking CT, flashing sight. That's it. You don't call out the last one. And now, okay, that's not a good smoke. I just came up with it on the fly. Now you intuitively make your teammates not look towards CT because it's smoked out. Instead, they will look towards site, and now your flashes are popping behind them without you even calling them out, alright? Now guys, some sites are easier to execute, other sites are harder to execute, and sometimes you don't have good smoke grenades to throw to guide your teammates. So for example, here on overpass A site, you cannot really smoke this off. The CT will just climb on top of the dice, or he will use the smoke grenade as a tool to create a really hard choke point here or whatever. It's gonna be really hard. You cannot guide your teammates anywhere because they need to get all of the site, basically. You typically want to control the entire site, not just parts of it or whatever. Whereas in Inferno B site, guiding them away from CT guides them to the site itself. So here it's not really that easy, alright? So what I like to do here is just not control them with the smoke, and instead just smoke off the AVP, smoke off the rotate. That's still very good. This is, don't forget this type of smoke just because we went over the other type previously, alright? So this is a very, very useful smoke grenade. And now you can still throw like a flashbang for them. Maybe you throw this one. You call it out, obviously, and now they all enter at the same time with the same flashbang. There we go. Now, what do you do if you want to throw the supported flash? You have another flash. The problem is some of your teammates might be looking this side, some of your teammates might be looking this side, some might be here already behind the dice. This is going to be really hard, and that's when you simply cannot get a perfect supported flash. But what you need to do is you need to throw it behind them, and that's when you throw it above them, like back here, alright? But it's still gonna be a pretty good flash actually. So if anybody's playing truck, he's gonna be a little bit blind. Anybody's gonna be playing dice here, he's gonna be a little bit blinded by the flash, whatever side he might be on. And yeah, that's still better than nothing. So you need to find the best possible execute you can. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be the same. On Inferno, it's very different execute than here on A side. Here you need to close off the AVP and the rotate. On Inferno, you prioritize closing of the crossfire and then guiding your teammates to the site itself. Now, the last thing I want to talk about are molotovs, and there are two different types of molotovs in my mind once again. The first type is just the same long-range molotov as we had with smoke grenades, so maybe you molly off bank and now AVP cannot be in bank and nobody can rotate through bank. It's just like the smoke grenade. It has the same purpose, the difference being that typically people cannot come through it. So maybe we mentioned how you could smoke this off and now the CT can just come through the smoke and still have the crossfire. Well, if you molly him off, if you molly here, now the CT cannot really come and like fight. So again, it depends on what you're looking to do with the utility, whether you want to block off the AVP from seeing for multiple seconds or whether you want to block off the M4 from shooting for a few seconds. They serve a little bit different purpose, but still the idea is the same, all right? So that's the long-range Molotov. The other one is like what I like to call flushing Molotov. So it flushes the enemy away from his hiding place. So let's say I use this Molotov, which pops behind the dice here. It completely flushes off the enemy from dice. Oops, I will die soon. There we go. So now the enemy cannot be hiding behind the dice anymore because he's burning and he has to either back off or swing wide. And this is especially useful if you combine this with a supported flash. So let's do the full execute here. So you smoke off for your teammates and you call them, guys, I'm flashing sight now. And then you molly off and then you throw a supportive flash behind them. And this molly will flush off the CT and then there's a flash popping behind him. And your teammates here won't be blinded at all. So that's a pretty nice execute you can do alone. Similar thing for Optimus here. You could molly behind it and now the enemy has to swing wide or try to back off. Exact same thing elsewhere. B side, maybe you want to molly here. Now the enemy either has to swing or give your teammates space and try to take these fights. And now he's way easier to flash than if he was hiding here basically. You get the idea. Now guys, finally we have the decoys. Do not use them. They do not help you in the long run, whereas subscribing to this channel will help you in the long run. Make sure to like the video and leave a comment below, and just remember, this stuff will not help you immediately. It's gonna take a while. What the video does is it deepens your understanding of CS in general, and it's gonna help you become a better player in the long run and improve yourself in the long run. So again, that's it for the video. Make sure to subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next one.